Time for something a little different now, as we take a look at my favorite board game, but in a game show format. Yes, it's Cluedo, the British game show that aired from 1990 to 1993 for 4 seasons and a Christmas special. It was hosted by James Bellini, Chris Tarrant, and Richard Madeley. Each season the actors of the 6 main characters would change, and each episode the weapons would change. The main of the game is for the teams to play along and try to guess who did it, with what weapon and where.
Miss Scarlet, Mrs. Peacock's glamorous stepdaughter. Or Mrs. White, loyal housekeeper and devoted confidant.
So let's take a look at 2 cases. First up, Season 2 with Chris Tarrant. Chris introduces the 2 teams of celebrities who will be trying to solve the case. Chris explains the rules as he then tells us the 6 weapons that it could possibly be. He also announces the rooms, as there is only 6 rooms compared to the original 9. Chris then gives us the background to the murder. He explains due to money problems Miss Peacock has called in an investment broker, so we see him with Miss Scarlet on horseback. The broker says Scarlet doesn't have the cash, as he then says he took a cut of their money. He rides off as Plum is holding 2 dead rats. He shows them to Mustard and Peacock as he explains he didn't use a dog. Peacock is worried about the rats as they meet Green. Peacock then asks about her mural window from Green. Green says there has been a delay as Peacock is not happy. Peacock and Mustard head into the dining room as White is there. White wants to know if Mr. Charles will be staying, as she wants a word with him. Mustard asks what she needs a word with him for, as White tells him to back off. Green is talking to Plum in the library as they are talking about investing in some computer business or something. Green says he did invest as he holds a rod behind his back. In the kitchen, White is trying to make food as Plum tries to get something to eat. White tells him to wash his hands as White asks about Mr. Charles. Plum says he is a little concerned as he plays with a knife. Scarlet spots something go down as she heads into the billiard room with Mustard, as Scarlet says that was a lot of money that he gave him. Mustard says it was a small debt. Charles breaks the necklace as Peacock is shocked. Peacock wants out of her contract as Charles tells her there is a way out as he plants the necklace on her. Peacock grabs the gun as Green is on the phone to someone. Charles tells him to take his advice as he then threatens him. Plum is playing the piano as everyone is in the living room as White gives out some drinks. White wants a little word with Charles as he then starts a speech, talking about his money. He says the money problems will be sorted as Peacock says she is selling up to make the money as Scarlet is shocked. They break out into a fight as Charles talks about computers. Plum doesn't like this as he says he came up with that idea first. Charles leaves the room as we get to night time as White announces that Charles is dead. That's the end of the video section as we head back to the studio to Chris. We then see the lineup as Chris tells us who has what motive. The celebrities then get to question the suspects as only the murderer can lie. We find out Green has spent 20k on stocks as Plum says he didn't leave the rat poison out. We find out Charles was blackmailing Mustard. We find out the cabinet door to the gun was always open. Chris then asks our teams what they think as Team 1 guess Scarlet in the kitchen. Team 2 try Mustard and the study as Chris questions their choice. Chris then tells us what the teams have gotten right so far as the scarf is ruled out. Once we come back from the break, Chris gives us more evidence. So White is talking to Plum as he is holding a knife over an ice block. White is talking about money and trying to profit or something. White says she used all her life savings as Scarlet says there's a way out of Charles' scheme. We return to the studio as the teams get to ask more questions to our suspects and guess again. Chris keeps asking why they are picking White as Team 2 get the correct combination. White goes off on a rant as she explains what she did. Chris then wraps up the show as that's the end of the show. In this second case hosted by Richard Madeley. Richard comes down the stairs as he starts to explain what has happened to some Mystic Meg. He talks us through the weapons as the episode then starts. We arrive at the manor as Scarlet arrives in her car. We see 2 people going at it as someone watches on. Mustard rushes into the house. White shows the Mystic Meg into the house as she says to Scarlet that she has had some sort of accident. Scarlett then heads to call someone about her car as she says she has the cash. Peacock is reading something as she throws it away. She shows White and her guest some tarot cards as she puts them down. Mystic Meg then reads them as Peacock is surprised at what it means. Mustard is on the phone saying something is counterfeit as he is on the toilet. White is cooking as she nearly puts rat poison in the food. Green turns up. He meets the Mystic as Mystic Meg announces she saw the vicar going at it with some lady and that he is having an affair. Peacock is reading the mail about her insurance as she sees a picture of the manor. She burns it as she laughs. Mustard busts in as some vermin guy comes in to kill the goldfish. Green closes the curtains as Mystic Meg does some more tarot cards for the group. She says she sees a child as she explains he feels abandoned. White is confused as the next card is about hell. She points to Peacock. She then says to Mustard there is blood on his hands as she keeps reading out the cards. She runs off as Green heads into a room alone with Mystic Meg. She says she is going to die as she wants to go home. She heads out as Mustard is still on the phone to someone, telling them to suffer. White talks to Peacock about having tea with Mystic Meg as in the billiard room. Plum and Mustard are having a game. White comes up to Green saying someone wants to see him as he gets nervous and runs off. All of a sudden White comes in to say Mystic Meg is dead. So we head back to the studio as Richard explains what happened and tells us what rooms it could have happened in. He tells us what everyone's motive is. He then introduces the teams as Team 1 guess Peacock in the billiard room as Team 2 guess White in the billiard room. But then for some reason we get to see the answer. But I won't be spoiling it for you. The teens start to question the suspects as Green confesses to the affair. Scarlett explains all about her car accident as Peacock says she has been in the red with her money. Mustard tells us all about the counterfeit money. White explains it was a mistake to add the rat poison. The teens guess again as they only get 1 out of 3 right. We then get a recap as Peacock is cleared. We then get some more story as Mustard wants to play pool as Plum needs to go make a phone call, but the vicar's mistress wants to talk to him. We then head back to the teens as they ask a question about the Lou chain. Team 1 asks Plum about the phone call as Green can't believe what he is saying. They slowly get closer to the correct answer as Miss Scarlett is charged with the crime. She explains what she did as we see her kill her off. The episode then ends as Richard wraps up. Overall, Cluedo was a good show and it translated very well to a game show. It was a bit silly at some points as some of the questioning was a little messy and didn't make sense, but to translate the board game to the game show worked well and it was an okay show. I wonder if they would do it nowadays, how it would work and if it could be live and voted on. They just need to tighten up the stories. So thank you for watching. If you have any TV shows you like to see me do, put them in the comments.